For a moment, we just stared at each other, no one speaking. Emily was the first to react. She ran over and grabbed my hand, her face still streaked with tears, her breath slightly quickened. She held my hand tightly.
Lily, she paused, you saw everything, didn't you? It's me. I really can't live without John. Don't blame him. It's really me. What should I do? Why am I so lost? Why do I love John? But I can't control myself. Lily, I'm begging you, really. I know I've wronged your mom, but I truly can't control myself. I really love him.
Her words were jumbled, and tears kept streaming down her face. In the past, I would have immediately stepped forward to hug her, telling her that even if the whole world abandoned her, I would still be by her side. But now, I only felt a coldness in my heart. It twisted painfully, sending waves of dull ache. I wanted to comfort her, to tell her I could accept it. But my heart told me I couldn't. I pushed Emily's hand away and sat upright on the sofa.
Let's talk.
Just like that absurd night, John and Emily sat across from me.
I cleared my throat. When did it start? How did it start?
Emily had calmed down a lot. She glanced shyly at John.
We officially got together a month ago. I pursued him.
My emotions were flat, even a bit nauseated. Without my knowledge, my best friend had taken my mom's place. I suppressed the churning in my stomach and continued to ask.
When did you start liking John?
Emily hesitated, her eyes darting around.
Just the past few months.
Knowing her for so many years, I could tell she was lying.
Emily, when you lie, you can't make eye contact. Look me in the eyes and say it again.
John patted Emily's hand and gave me a warning look.
Don't be too aggressive.
I ignored him and stared intently at Emily. Emily looked at me, then at my dad, and sighed in resignation.
It's been several years. If I had to be precise, probably since high school.
I was shocked, calculating the years. It had been 4 years.
Are you crazy? My mom was still around then.
So I suppressed my feelings back then and didn't dare to have much contact with him.
I was furious, my tone dripping with sarcasm.
So now that my mom is gone, you got what you wanted? No wonder you refused to come to my house before, but after my mom passed, you came over frequently. I thought you were trying to comfort me, but it turns out I was just a tool for your emotions. Well done, Emily.
John slammed the table.
Enough! Lily, you need to stop this nonsense. How can you talk like that? Apologize to Emily.
Tears welled up in my eyes.
Apologize? Why should I apologize? Have you forgotten what you told me before? You said you'd only ever love my mom. The one who should apologize is you.
John's face turned red with anger. He rushed over and slapped me hard. The three of us were stunned. I held my face, looking at the man in front of me.
I'm sorry, Lily, Dad was just too impulsive.
Emily stepped forward to check my face, but I pushed her away.
I don't need your fake concern. You've achieved your goal. There's no need to force yourself to be my friend anymore.
I looked up at John, my eyes resolute.
This slap was for her. I will remember it. From today on, you're no longer my dad. I'll consider both my parents gone.
My voice echoed through the living room. I lifted my head, grabbed my bag, and fixed my hair.
Goodbye. No, let's never meet again. From today, I'm an orphan.
I turned and walked out, suddenly thinking of my mom, who used to argue with John in this very room. I couldn't help but feel a deep sorrow. Had my mom suffered even more in ways I couldn't see? Emily tried to follow and explain, but I couldn't hear anything anymore. My heart was filled with the desolation of betrayal. This farce, of course, ended in discord. The next day, Emily sent me a message.
Your dad and I are planning to get married. Lily, we really hope for your support.
I looked at the text and laughed at myself. We? Ha, they're already a we before even getting married? Does my opinion matter? What can I do if I disagree? A sudden feeling of isolation washed over me. My dad was going to be someone else's groom, and they would form a new family with my best friend. They would have their own children. And what about me? What am I in this family? At best, an outsider. So, I applied for a transfer at work. My boss and senior, David, called me into his office.
Lily, are you unhappy at the company? Why did you apply for a transfer?
No, I'm quite happy. I just want to explore and maybe get a leadership position at the branch office.
David closed the office door and pulled me to the sofa.
I'm not your boss now, I'm your senior. Tell me why you're feeling down.
I felt an urge to throw myself into his arms. David had always taken care of me in school. No matter what trouble I got into, he always calmly helped me out. I wanted to tell him about my stress, but the words stuck in my throat.
It's just family stuff. I just want to be more independent.
David ruffled my hair.
It's okay if you don't want to talk about it. If you ever feel down, you can always come to me. I'm happy to be your emotional trash can.
I couldn't help but laugh, my heart suddenly racing. Somehow, my plan to transfer got back to my dad. After work, Emily blocked me at the company entrance. I looked at my once inseparable friend and sighed deeply. We went to our favorite bubble tea shop.
2 taro bubble teas, less ice, 30% sugar.
It reminded me of our past, the days we went to school together, ate, drank, and had fun without any secrets. It felt like yesterday, yet so long ago. Holding our bubble teas, we sat in a secluded spot. After a long silence, Emily grabbed my hand.
Lily, I'm sorry.
I never thought, of all people, why him?
You know me. I grew up without a dad, living with my mom. As a child, I always envied other kids playing with their dads. Maybe it's this unfulfilled emotion that made me attracted to older men.
There are plenty of older single men. Why him?
Because I've seen him treat you like a princess. I've seen him love your mom wholeheartedly. I don't know when it started, but I fell in love with him.
Her words made me waver. I always knew about Emily's family issues, but I couldn't accept her becoming my stepmom.
Emily, I can't control what you and my dad do. But my stance is clear. I can't accept it, and I won't give my blessing. I've decided to transfer to G City for a few years. During this time, let's not contact each other. Goodbye.
After saying that, I turned and left, faintly hearing Emily's sobs and her resolute words.
I don't regret it. I won't regret it.
Without looking back, I bid farewell to this friendship of over a decade. The transfer order came quickly. I packed a few belongings and said goodbye to this city. G City was hot, with summer-like weather all year round. But this coastal city had pleasant scenery and humid air. I had no time to appreciate it. I quickly immersed myself in my new job. The G City branch had just been established, hiring mostly industry newcomers. As the CEO, I had to manage collaborations while also mentoring the new hires. I worked hard during the day and slept as soon as I got home at night. The busy workdays helped me forget everything about B City. 3 months later, I received an invitation from B City. Emily and John were getting married.
David, tone, comforting, it's okay. I was prepared for this.
Will you come back for the wedding?
I laughed through the screen.
If I go, it won't be to attend the wedding but to ruin it.
David didn't respond, just looked at me. He watched as I slowly suppressed my emotions.
Me, tone, sad, I want to not care, but I've lost the 2 people I was closest to in this world.
In the end, I couldn't hold back and cried for a long time.
Now, many people in the circle are talking about Emily. A lot of them look down on her, thinking she did it for money.
Me, tone, shouting, stop it! This has nothing to do with me.
David smiled slightly and changed the subject.
David, tone, friendly, how about I visit you next week?
I was still processing the previous events and stared blankly at David for a few seconds before blushing.
Me, tone, shy, why would you visit me? What's there to see? But if the big boss wants to inspect the work, we would certainly welcome you.
David smirked, a bit roguishly.
Why would I inspect the company? I'm coming just to see you.
Blushing even more, I stammered.
Then come.
David, tone, hopeful, do you want me to come? If you're not welcoming, I won't go.
Me, tone, whispering you're welcome.
David indeed arrived as promised, bringing along a few experienced senior employees. This significantly reduced my workload. After 3 months of not resting properly, I decided to take a well-deserved break. On the first day, we went to a temple to offer incense, joining a large group of students in praying to the god of wealth. On the second day, we visited famous local attractions, taking many beautiful photos. On the third day, we went to the beach and enjoyed delicious seafood. As the sun set, we sat side by side on the sand, watching the twilight reflect on the sea, a scene both beautiful and melancholic. When the sun completely disappeared, I couldn't help but shed tears, feeling a wave of loneliness and helplessness.
It's okay. Let it out.
David gently hugged me. I leaned into his embrace, letting out all the emotions I had been holding in.
Emily and I met in elementary school. She was a very lonely child back then because no one wanted to play with her. Everyone said she was an orphan. I felt sorry for her and told my dad. He said I could be her friend and protect her. So, I started talking to her, standing up for her. Gradually, Emily opened up to me. We became best friends, going to school together, playing together, growing up together.
I paused, feeling the weight of my words.
Maybe it was wrong from the start.
David patted my back, listening to me ramble on about Emily and me.
We promised to be each other's bridesmaids.
If you've already let go, then go. Don't leave any regrets.
I didn't move, but a decision formed in my heart. On the fourth day, David had to prepare to return to City B. I took him to the airport, where he hugged me tightly to say goodbye.
Maybe it's time for me to let go.
I still attended John and Emily's wedding. Sitting at the main table, I found myself zoning out as I watched the two of them on stage.
Isn't that Emily, your best friend?
Yes, it is.
Wow, wow, wow. Your best friend married your dad. Emily is something else. Clearly she's after your family's money. I've always said you're too naive, and now you've met the wrong people.
I stood up firmly.
Emily isn't like that. Although I don't bless this marriage, I know they truly love each other. Emily isn't with my dad for the money.
My aunt gave me a mocking glance and turned to chat with other ladies. I couldn't hold back any longer and slipped out of the hotel during a break in the ceremony. Unexpectedly, I ran into someone outside the hotel. It was Emily's mother, standing at the entrance, examining the signboard with John and Emily's wedding photo. I was surprised. I had heard that Emily had a huge fight with her mother over marrying my dad, and her mother had refused to attend the wedding. But here she was. She seemed equally surprised to see me.
Lily, this is Emily's fault. Rest assured, Emily will never covet your family's wealth. Things will remain as they were.
I looked at her and thought of my own mother. If my mother were still here. Emily's mother soon left. I stood alone at the hotel entrance, staring blankly at the signboard. Another person hurried out of the hotel. He came up behind me and draped a coat over my shoulders. I leaned gently into his embrace and asked,
Michael, do you like me?
I heard his heartbeat quicken. After a long pause, he replied,
Yes, I do. And you? Do you like me?
I do too.
What?
I like you.
After that day, I entered a passionate relationship. Although it was long distance, nothing could stop our desire to be together. He would visit me whenever he had the chance, and we shared our daily lives through video calls every night. His companionship quickly made me forget my worries, and I immersed myself in the sea of love. Until Emily suddenly contacted me.
Thank you. Thank you for speaking up for me that day. And thank you for accepting us.
No need to thank me.
Did you know? Your dad has always loved you. Before we got our marriage certificate, he wrote his will, leaving all his company shares to you.
Ah.
He asked for my opinion, and I agreed. We owe you too much.
That's true.
She laughed for a while, then asked me nervously.
Can we go back to how things were?
I thought for a long time before slowly speaking.
I don't know.
We can, I believe it.
I secretly wiped away a tear from the corner of my eye and mumbled.
I have a meeting soon. Let's talk later.
I didn't expect Emily to come looking for me. When I got the call from the front desk, I was momentarily stunned. I went downstairs and took Emily to a cafe.
Why did you come all of a sudden?
I came to hang out with you. I missed you.
I took a sip of coffee.
But I might not have time to keep you company.
No worries. I'll stay at your place, help you clean up, and we can have late-night snacks together when you get off work. If you have any days off, we can go food hunting, just like before.
I widened my eyes.
What about Dad? Won't you be with him?
He supports me doing this. He thinks our years of friendship shouldn't be lost.
I nodded and handed her the keys.
I'll text you the address. Take care of the house for me.
Emily smiled brightly and nodded quickly. Our two-person life began soon after. We got along just like before, never mentioning her marriage.
I heard you're with David?
Emily lounged on the sofa, eating spicy snacks. I had a face mask on and responded with a muffled mm.
I always knew he liked you, but I didn't expect him to take so long. So, how did you two get together?
I ignored her, watching her squirm on the sofa. Eventually, I took off the mask early.
It was that day. I asked him if he liked me, he said yes, and we got together.
A hint of awkwardness flashed across Emily's face, but she quickly covered it up. She stayed with me in G-City for a month, then I sent her away.
A third wheel really gets in the way of a romance. Definitely not because I was worried about my dad being lonely.
My emotions were flat, even a bit nauseated. Without my knowledge, my best friend had stolen my mom's place. I suppressed the churning in my stomach and continued to ask.
When did you start liking John?
Emily hesitated, her eyes darting around.
Just the past few months.
Knowing her for so many years, I could tell she was lying.
Emily, you know, when you lie, you can't make eye contact. Look me in the eyes and say it again.
John patted Emily's hand and gave me a warning look.
Don't be too aggressive.
I ignored him and stared intently at Emily. Narrator, tone, relieved I didn't stay in B-City for long before returning to G-City. With my mind at ease, I applied to transfer back to the headquarters, and the request was quickly approved. Based on my previous performance, I promoted Lao Yang, who was dispatched by the headquarters, to be the president of the branch office. Then came the handover of work. I suddenly found myself with a lot of free time. On weekends, I would either visit Tom or go on dates with my boyfriend. Narrator, tone, serious. After returning to G-City, John called to ask my opinion about Tom.
John, tone, serious. What's your opinion about Tom?
Lily, tone, cheerful, huh? He's quite adorable. I really like him.
John, tone, serious. Tom has been getting some small bruises lately.
Lily, tone, anxious, huh? What's going on?
John, tone, serious. Most likely, someone is doing it on purpose.
Narrator, tone, serious. I quickly recalled the various nannies I had seen over the past few days.
Lily, tone, serious. Is it one of the nannies? Who would do that to such a small child? Dad, you should check the surveillance cameras.
John, tone, heavy. I've checked the cameras. There's nothing conclusive.
Narrator, tone, serious. He paused, hesitating before speaking again.
John, tone, serious. Lily, it wasn't you, was it?
Narrator, tone, serious. I was momentarily speechless, unable to comprehend why John would think that of me.
John, tone, urgent. If it was you, it's okay. But don't do it again. Last time, it took several days for Tom's bruises to heal.
Narrator, tone, sad. I couldn't bear to listen any longer and hung up the phone. The midday sun shone on me, but I felt no warmth. It was as if my blood had turned to ice, and my heart was painfully constricted. After a long while, I dialed Michael's number.
Michael, tone, cheerful. Lily, did you miss me?
Narrator, tone, sad. His deep voice pulled me out of my nightmare, and I broke down in tears, feeling like I had found a lifeline.
Michael, tone, flustered. What's wrong, Lily? What happened?
Narrator, tone, sad. I couldn't hear anything else, just kept crying. Narrator, tone, soothing. Michael stopped talking and started singing a soothing song. Listening to his singing, I cried myself to sleep. When I woke up, it was already dark, and the building was almost empty. Wanting to take a walk and get some fresh air, I didn't go to the parking lot but left the company directly. A taxi quickly stopped in front of me, and a familiar figure stepped out. Narrator, tone, relieved. Michael got out of the car, saw me, and immediately ran over to hug me.
Michael, tone, hopeful. Don't be afraid. No matter what happens, I'm here with you.
Narrator, tone, relieved. I held him tightly, like clinging to the last straw.
What? Your dad thinks you don't like your brother and even deliberately hurt him?
I bit down hard on the meat skewer in front of me and nodded in frustration. Michael furrowed his handsome brows.
Though it might be a bit disrespectful to say, your dad is really a bit confused. He should know you're not that kind of person.
What kind of person am I?
He smirked.
The kindest, most cheerful, and most genuine girl in the world. With people you know well, whatever you're thinking is written all over your face. You could never do something like pretending to be nice while stabbing someone in the back.
Hearing his words, I felt like crying again. Someone I've known for 5 years understands me so well, yet my dad, who has been with me for so many years, still doubts me. I put down the meat skewer in a bit of a huff.
I don't want to go back to B City. Just thinking about being doubted like that makes me.
Michael hugged me.
Don't say that. Come live with me. If you don't come back, I'll miss you. I want to see you every day.
I eventually returned to B City but didn't go back to live at John's house as he had arranged. Instead, I used my savings to buy a place next to Michael's. John wanted to talk to me, but I refused.
Why won't you talk to him?
I took a sip of water.
I just feel that since he already has that impression of me, what's the point of explaining? He'll just think I'm making excuses and say, don't let it happen again. But I didn't do any of those things. What did I do wrong?
I think you should talk to your dad. If you don't even try to explain, he might take it as an admission. Why carry such a heavy burden? How do you know he won't believe you if you don't try?
I pondered, and Michael continued.
Did Emily ask you? Did she say anything to you afterward?
I shook my head. Michael smiled mysteriously as I looked at him. After 2 days of calm, I decided to talk to John. Just as I was about to leave work and head to his office, I saw a new post from him on social media. Family photo, picture.jpg. In the picture were John, Emily, and Tom. The photo was placed on John's desk. I recognized the spot because it used to hold a family photo of me, John, and my mom. I suddenly felt like an outsider. That day, I didn't go. My emotions were flat, even a bit nauseated. Without my knowledge, my best friend had stolen my mom's place. I suppressed the churning in my stomach and continued to ask.
When did you start liking John?
Emily hesitated, her eyes darting around.
Just the past few months.
Knowing her for so many years, I could tell she was lying.
Emily, you know, when you lie, you can't make eye contact. Look me in the eyes and say it again.
John patted Emily's hand and gave me a warning look.
Don't be too aggressive.
I ignored him and stared intently at Emily. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door. Emily and John quickly stopped me.
Sorry, I won't be coming to your house anymore. You can send the replaced photos to my office. Don't let them be an eyesore here. I wish you all happiness.
Emily clung to me, shouting.
Lily, what do you want? Wasn't it you who secretly pinched the baby first? Who are you trying to fool with this act?
I turned back and saw John holding her tightly, comforting her.
We've been friends for so many years. Do you really think I did that?
But every time you come, the baby ends up with bruises. How do you expect me to believe you?
Tears blurred my vision, but my voice remained steady.
Fine, think whatever you want.
With that, I walked out of the villa. I looked back at the familiar house that had seen me grow from a child to an adult. It was no longer my home. I saw it clearly now. My presence was being erased bit by Tom. I was becoming increasingly irrelevant to this family. I let out a self-deprecating laugh and drove away. I arrived at Michael's house, feeling lost. When he opened the door, he was shocked to see me, tears streaming down my face, standing at his doorstep. He gently pulled me inside and used a warm towel to wipe my face.
I'm sorry. I don't want to burden you every time, but I have no one else.
He hugged me back, patting my back gently.
Don't apologize. I'm happy to be by your side, whether you're happy or sad. I'll always be here for you.
You're lying. You won't always be here. If something happens to me, you'll find a new girlfriend quickly, just like my dad.
I promise I won't. And I won't let anything happen to you. We still have a lifetime together.
After that day, neither John nor Emily contacted me. Until that day, John's lawyer called me.
Miss Lily, Mr. John has amended his will, leaving half of his shares to young Tom. Mr. John asked me to inform you.
His possessions, he can give them to whoever he wants. No need to tell me. You can let him know that he can consider me no longer his daughter.
Smith coughed lightly, a bit embarrassed.
All right, Miss Lily, I will convey your message.
That afternoon, John came to the office to see me. After receiving the call, I took a deep breath to calm myself and went downstairs. John looked older, his face showing clear signs of fatigue. I sat on the sofa opposite him, focusing on stirring the coffee beside me.
I received the message you asked Smith to deliver. I know you're still holding a grudge over what happened. I've thought it over carefully. It was my fault, jumping to conclusions without evidence and suspecting you of hurting Tom. I apologize. But I still love you. You will always be my little girl.
You don't need to say more. I won't believe a word. My room is gone, there's no place for me in the family photo, and I've even been painted as a villain who bullies children. I know, even if you don't say it, I've become an outsider. I've thought a lot recently. I was naive before. I thought only your relationship changed, but our bond remained the same. I was wrong, terribly wrong. I'm sorry, John, please forgive me. I don't want any connection with you or that family anymore. I don't want to be an outsider everywhere I go.
I stood up to leave, but Michael hurriedly entered the cafe, holding a document. He walked over to John.
Hello, sir. This is the investigation report on your younger son's injury. I hope you read it and clear Lily's name.
He then pressed me back onto the sofa and sat beside me. It turned out that the injury on Tom's arm was caused by a nanny. She had learned about our complicated family situation and despised Emily, thinking she was a homewrecker. She wanted to provoke a conflict between Emily and me, hoping I would cause a scene.
I'm sorry, Lily.
Looking at my somewhat aged father, I was momentarily speechless. I took a hard sip of coffee before finding my voice.
The truth is out. You three can live your lives. Forget about me and Mom.
With that, I pulled Michael back to the office, leaving John sobbing at the table.
Do you think I'm a cold-hearted, unfilial person?
Michael picked up a small watering can and watered the flowers on the balcony.
I don't think so. On the contrary, I believe you are someone who loves and hates deeply, someone who can let go.
I have no home. Will you give me one? The water from the small can created a beautiful rainbow in the sunlight. I heard Michael's voice in my ear.
I would love to,